Welcome to Cordkillers Reckoning. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we're just trying to make our way through this desert of weirdness to find what we want, when we want, where we want, whatever we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Brian, where's the good stuff?
Oh my gosh, the good stuff is in your heart, and the only way to get there is confession, Tom. I think it's time that we cop to it. I think we finally provide some kind of written statement, or maybe we can make it right now, recorded on the internet, that we killed the Cords. It's our own fault. Our hubris has caused us to. What do we? Oh, you're taking your mugshot.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned.
How long has it been since your last confession, Tom?
It's been 1 week since the last show.
Okay. Did anything change during this time?
I just killed more Cords.
Oh, my God. Okay. Well, the good book says, of course, I'm talking about the Bible, the TV guide. It says that we should watch broadcast television and shut up and watch the ads.
I will do 10 Hail Disneys and start the supply run.
Great.
Supply run, supply run, supply run.
We are going to talk about a California law because sometimes when California passes something, a lot of other places will imitate it. And B, this is interesting and bears on a lot of your interests. California AB 2426 will prohibit storefronts from using the terms buy or purchase for digital goods unless you get unrestricted access to those digital goods or you are informed what restrictions there are right up front. If a license to the content can be revoked, it has to say it on the listing next to the buy button. If a digital good is fully available permanently after download, then it could use buy or purchase without explanation.
Tom, I desperately, like a dog seeing a squirrel, want to run straight to the extreme version of outrage on this one. However, it occurs to me I should ask fundamental questions like, is this a bill that's likely to pass or no?
This is a law that was signed by the governor.
Okay. All right. You know what? We're one step closer to outrage. That's
okay.
good.
All right. All right. We got that pot on boil. Any other questions?
Before again, sweet outrage, it's coming. But in the meantime, it seems to me like this is one of those trivial things that can be this is part of the reason I don't like heavy-handed regulation is, let's say your law is you can't have cover your kids' ears fully nude venues where dancing ladies dance nude. They have to be wearing, say, a G-string. Then what they do is they just wrap it around their wrist and then they continue to dance. Technically they're wearing a G-string. So the three-letter word buy, B-U-Y, connotes an exchange of money for goods and services. Now, I guess technically we buy a ticket to the movie, but does that mean we're just buying the piece of paper, the commemorative receipt of our ability to reserve a seat to go see a movie? Who knows? But that three-letter word buy has already been replaced in the Apple Store with the three-letter word GET. All of those apps, it says, you want to get it? Doesn't say buy. And yeah, I do want to get it. I don't. Sorry, it's dessert. I'm here for the outrage, Tom. This is dumb.
I'm gonna push back on you a little bit here. I think the law here thinks that is fine. That is the aim of the law, to say, great, if Apple changed everything to get, then the law is working. Because what we were trying to prohibit is people thinking when they buy something that they get unrestricted access, that they own it in a traditional sense. And what the bill is saying, what the law now is saying, is that you can't use buy, purchase, or any other term which a reasonable person would understand to confer unrestricted ownership interest. So if get is like, oh, I'm just getting it, but is that like renting it? That's what the law wants. The law wants you to not feel like, I own this, and then find out later, oh, they can delete it from my account without my knowledge. They're trying to say you can't use buy or purchase unless people get to keep it and you can't do anything about it.
Right. Well, and then because I'm just, oh man, I'm in my swimming trunks. I'm neck deep in outrage right now, Tom. The
Get on in. It's the Barton Springs of outrage.
what is so frustrating is that these laws of this type universally seem to be lagging indicators of what already was happening anyway. It wasn't seatbelt legislation that all of a sudden car manufacturers were like, guys, I have this crazy idea. I'd never heard. Have you heard of seat belts? Maybe we should do them. No, they were an option, and they were increasing in popularity. And only once it was safe did the laws get passed. Same thing for advertising on cigarettes. Only after Americans had already decided to stop smoking did laws get more restrictive about IDs and all of that stuff. And this is yet another example of people have already, consumer interest has already gotten frustrated about the difference between buy and stuff, and many companies were already correcting for it. So thank you very much for swooping in and doing.
Many companies already correcting for it.
I mean, see, this is a favorite game. Is
because Apple changed to Get a long time ago for entirely unrelated reasons.
Right, but it was changed, and it was
changed because they're like, oh, well, you're not always paying for stuff. Sometimes it's free. It's simpler if we say get, because then that applies to the free stuff and the stuff you have to pay for.
Right, and so I would say
nothing to do with. I would say I'm confused whether I own it or not.
But again, it is legislating what was happening anyway. In
Apple's case, for an entirely separate reason.
It doesn't matter what the reason is. I don't care what the reason is. It's still somebody jumping in front of a parade and pretending like they're the ones leading it.
I don't think so. I think the parade's still going. I don't think that I'm sorry. Maybe the parade's not going. I'm confused on your metaphor suddenly. But I don't think most of the digital storefronts have switched to something that isn't buy or purchase. And I think this law, first of all, I hate laws. I'm borrowing this from Andrew Heaton. I hate laws that legislate intentions instead of actions. So this passes that. This is an action. You can't say buy or purchase unless you list the restrictions. If you don't have any restrictions, then you don't have to list any restrictions. That all is very simple and it makes sense. So then it's whether it would have happened anyway. I don't know that I buy the evidence that it's happening anyway.
What would have happened is the meaning of the term buy would have changed over time because I took linguistics 101, and the first thing you learn is that English is a living language.
Sure.
And the very word, they legislate words in a stupid way, similar to in France. In France, it is against the law to use any foreign word if there's when there's a French word.
Sure.
So when the internet came to France, they had to invent the word, the totally French word, le internet, a totally different word by law. Stupid laws, Tom. This is stupid laws.
I agree that's a stupid law. I'm not sure this matches the same level.
Okay, so are we going to ban on internet sites? Are you allowed to buy a ticket with Fandango, or are you allowed to only allowed to reserve your spot? What are you talking about? I go to the internet. I can't. I'm not doing it. I'm doing it on a website.
This law very specifically doesn't apply to that.
Okay. Well,
this is digital goods, and it's actually pretty well defined as the things that reside on your computer and reside on your computer only, and they're not granting you blah 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 blah. This is saying if I buy a movie, a TV show, some music, or an app, and it says, and you're going to call it buy or purchase. We're just setting a rule in our society that says you have to list if there's any restrictions to that buying or purchasing, or use a different word.
Okay, so
I don't know that that's a big deal. I don't know that's bad. I think that's good because one of government's roles is to create the rules of the road, right? Like, sure, everybody at the four-way stop will learn to stop, but it's nice to have stop signs. This to me is more on the stop side of things than the internet side of things. I'm
going to go with your opening premise, even though I disagree with what the job of governments are. But instead, let me try a different tack. Let's draw a circle around planet Earth, and let's divvy it up into people who are buying things and people who create the things that are purchased, right? So imagine the net universal benefit. How many disastrous purchases of $10 or whatever were avoided because some idiot wasn't clear on what the difference between the word buy and acquire a license to is. I think those people are vanishingly small. However, the very real material harm to developers, where all of them, congratulations, you have yet another paragraph on every single page that you have to comply with because of silly regulations that, as best I could tell, I have no victims. Yes, there are people who are annoyed, but they've all learned their lesson. They all got burned. Everybody knows before they click buy on a website to ask, am I really buying this?
Confused. Everyone in the world is clear now that when I see buy on a digital item, I might not own it in the same way I own other things.
Yeah,
There's
you might
no one
not
left
have it
confused
forever.
by that.
Well, you might not have it forever because the business may go out of business. I mean, it's like this very action of getting into the weeds about what a 3-letter word means is unproductive unless you happen to host a show on this stuff and are about to ask for Patreon. But for the rest of humanity, it is a net negative that by law, under force of the government, we are forced into having every single small business creator of any digital content now has to deal with this. And I just don't see what puppies are being saved. I don't see the benefit of it.
I think there is the benefit of being able to know immediately, like, oh, this is a rental, because you can avoid all of this by saying rent instead of buy. You can avoid all of this by saying buy a license instead of buy. You don't have to list any of the restrictions if you just choose a different way of phrasing it. All it's saying is don't use these kinds of words unless you put the restrictions or you don't have any. You know what doesn't have any? The iTunes store for music. Won't ever have to do this. All the stores for music where you buy digital music give you DRM free music. What it might do is encourage people to maybe not use DRM where they don't need to, which would be a net positive. And frankly, I think this is pretty light burden. I don't think this is extremely burdensome to say, choose your language carefully and be truthful and informative. We're just setting a rule. I'm usually with you. I'm usually with you on this one, but I don't think this one is that burdensome.
This is always the defense of any regulation is like, well, it's such a minor inconvenience.
Well, but sometimes that's a lie,
truthful.
and sometimes it's not. This one feels like it's pretty low.
You are quadrupling the number of syllables by a license, and making words.
That was a bad example. Rent is not adding any syllables,
but it's also clearly not a rental because a rental expires upon beginning of use. This is a rental in perpetuity. Let's go ahead and make it totally accurate. This is a rental in perpetuity for the duration.
You don't have to, though. You can just say rent.
No, but it's not a rent because a rent, it's owed back to you and you are forced to give it up.
Or
You're
you
not
can follow
forced to give it up.
Say get.
Okay. Again, you're hiding behind the line of it's a minor inconvenience. I don't see what the problem. If it saves one child's life,
only because it is
like
minor.
An economist. Think like an economist, and this makes absolutely no sense. Think like a linguist, and this makes absolutely no sense.
I think linguists like it because it allows people to be more creative with language.
No, they don't. Because it refuses to acknowledge that English is a living language and words change over time.
I don't know that it acknowledges that. It's acknowledging a current state, which is most people, when they see buy, think they don't have to, they'll never lose access to that thing.
Okay, everybody in the chat, 100% of our audience, chime in right now. If, until you heard of this law, you were under the impression that when you click buy on a digital good, you were entitled to access it for the rest of your life.
And everyone you know thought that too. As long there's no one you know who would have been confused by that.
Now we're back to the if it saves one child defense, which I don't think is good.
You're asking, is there anyone who's confused by this? And if most people say they're not, and most people say most of the people they know are not, then that's to your point. It's not the one child. Is this almost not a thing where it's such a minimal number of people that are confused, this is unnecessary? I think that's what you're going for, right?
This is one of those times where it's like you got to pick a lane because either it's so minor a thing that it doesn't matter that we're changing it. But if that's the case, why is there a law being passed by the 6th largest economy on the planet that is going to affect everybody and force compliance on them? Because that seems like a very big cudgel to use for what you're claiming is a very minor thing.
If you think it's unfair to large companies that they have a law that says they can't lie,
I didn't say large companies. Actually, cordkillers@gmail.com. This is the only way to litigate it. But to clarify, that's the other thing is you always do the straw man of saying big companies can afford it. But of course, big companies love this because they love to engage with what's called regulatory capture. This is a way to keep the little guys out.
Because
this
it's
law,
so costly to use a different word for buy.
Again, it's
incredibly costly.
Because again, if this was the only one, okay, all right. Now you're actually, this is abuse of co-host.
I apologize. All right, there's only one way to solve this, Brian, with money.
Yes, to buy people to rechange all of my websites and take the word buy out. I'm not allowed to. I have to hold on. Actually,
you could use the word buy. You just have to say what the restrictions are on it.
Oh, Christ. I mean, like quite literally, legally, I have to change scamstuff.com because I am allowing people. I didn't even think about it. I was dealing in the totally hypothetical.
But only digital stuff. So
yeah, I sell digital downloads of tutorial lessons.
Are they DRM'd?
No.
Then you don't have to change anything.
What? But they're not going to be available.
If someone buys it and downloads it and they don't lose access to it, that counts under this law.
Well, I mean, when they come back, it's not like the link doesn't work forever. But
as long as they've you're not restricting them after they download it, then you're fine.
Yeah, but then they lose it, and then
that's not the law. Doesn't care if somebody loses it. That's not the issue. The issue is you can go and delete it from their hard drive later, or stop them from being able to use it. That's what the law is about. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe that's the first good point you've made, Tom.
The second good point is that we only make good points when we reach a certain number of patrons. So
that's true.
One of the reasons it took me that long is we don't have enough patrons. If you'd like to solve that, patreon.com/Cordkillers.
That's 100% correct. You guys keep us loud, live, and independent. You've changed our lives. Hopefully we brighten your days. Head on over to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Indeed. Let's go to the search party. Brian, did you happen to catch the new trailer for season 2 of The Last of Us?
I did indeed. In fact, my daughter and I played both of the video games and loved the first season. So I got to do that trick of like hitting play and waiting until after the HBO was there. I was like, oh, hey, look at this. So she didn't know that's what she was watching. So you get that cool thing of like 30 or 40 seconds in, you're like, oh, what is this? What is this? And then you see Pedro Pascal pull out the guitar and you know instantly what it is. And it's scant on details. Not
even a release date, just saying coming 2025. So
well, and they also don't show there's a female character named Abby in the game who is very muscular in her build, but apparently they cast somebody who presents in other stuff as highly delicate and feminine. And so my daughter is like, coiled and ready to strike if they don't make her tough as, beefy and tough as nails like she was in the game. So we'll see. I keep saying, there was this great moment where around the kitchen table, she was complaining like, it's not possible. She's too small or whatever. I'm like, whatever. She's going to do a bunch of push-ups. You only got to build up these parts. After that, it's costuming. And she's like, they can't possibly do that fast. And then Bonnie and I in unison say, Hollywood does it all the time.
Indeed. Well, yeah. Look at The Whale, like for the opposite. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You can, it's kind of disturbing how easy it is for the movie and TV industry to modify people's bodies for shoots.
Well, and also you have to be a little bit crazy to even become an actor. You have to be kind of a sociopath who can experience anxiety, fear, rage on command. I always think of like the swing that what's his name did from The Machinist to becoming Batman. You put on like 200 pounds or something ridiculous.
Yeah. Did you watch Agatha All Along on Disney Plus?
I gotta tell you, Tom, I am predisposed to want to so bad, but every time I see it on the screen, I just think that looks like work that makes me think of the pandemic. I don't know what it is. It's Pavlovian.
Yeah. I didn't watch it either, but apparently we are the only ones who didn't. It hit 9.3 million views on Disney Plus in its first 7 days, although that is less than The Acolyte, which hit 13.3 million in June in 5 days, and Ahsoka reached 14 million in 5 days. So maybe we aren't so alone now that I think about it.
Yeah, and also, I'm curious what the current definition of views is. What percentage of it?
These are the same definition across all three, I believe.
Right.
So it's an internal number, right?
Right.
But yeah, I don't know if that. You're comparing apples to apples, but whether that apple has one bite out of it or is just the core, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's that's me shining the spotlight on my own ignorance. Like all of a sudden I have to re-up my knowledge of what constitutes a views.
Well, and these are Disney self-reported numbers, which is why one of them's 7 days and the other two are 5 days, because one that makes the first one look a little bigger. So, Bloomberg says Apple is scaling back its practice of distributing movies traditionally through theaters. Apple had been doing not always the 90-day window, but whatever the prevailing window, 30, 45 days for theater releases before bringing them to Apple TV Plus. However, with a new movie, Wolves, which has George Clooney and Brad Pitt, they decided to just do a short run in a limited number of theaters in order to qualify for awards. And then it hit Apple TV Plus last Friday. Bloomberg says Apple has not abandoned wide releases entirely. There's a movie called Blitz that's going to get a limited release, but F1, starring Brad Pitt, is planned for a global release in theaters. But supposedly going forward, the company will aim to produce a dozen movies a year, with the majority of them costing less than $100 million, and only 1 or 2 of those being released widely in theaters.
Do you think, I mean, certainly the expense of doing a traditional release is a big part of it. Second of all, the inability to control the narrative, I suspect, is even more important, because if it comes out on Netflix, then however it does opening weekend with Rotten Tomatoes is not really do or die, because it's not about the limited availability.
Yeah, nobody cares, right?
Right, exactly. Whereas, it's just taking on extra risk. If they have a bomb, everyone's going to know it because it's another theatrical release. Yeah, you get a lot of PR and word of mouth, but you're also putting yourself up for possibly eating some bad stuff.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I would guess the majority of it is the cost. The idea that, oh, okay, so 2 of these will make money. 1 or 2 of them will make money in the theaters a year, and the rest of them are best just going straight to streaming is probably the majority of the decision. And that feels like an important side benefit of, and if we're on the fence about making this call, the other benefit is you don't get that PR hit when they collapse at the box office, which is important too. So yeah, I think this is more about the economics of theaters than it is about any kind of particular streaming strategy. I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
Did you know there's a new Matlock?
I saw a random ad for it, and I totally did not recognize Kathy Bates. I was so happy to see that it's her. I bet she's great.
Kathy Bates, playing the role that Andy Griffith made famous, averaged 7.73 million viewers on Sunday. That's a same day rating. Right? Not necessarily a live rating, but if they watched it later that same day. That is the largest CBS audience for a non-post Super Bowl show premiere in 5.5 years. Last time CBS saw an audience that big was The Code in 2019.
Wow.
I know. Matlock.
I mean, it makes sense. Matlock is comfortable, and
people who know what Matlock is still watch broadcast television in larger numbers.
That's true. So the right place on broadcast television, the right slot, probably early-ish on a Sunday evening, the right talent, because people probably saw Kathy Bates.
Yep.
And as long as it's good and sticks to format, that makes sense.
Variety reports that Amazon is in talks with Brian Williams, the NBC News guy, about hosting live election coverage on election night in the U.S. this year to compete with more traditional TV news broadcasts and offer nonpartisan coverage, which all journalists should be offering, but nonpartisan coverage of the U.S. presidential election as results come in. Brian Williams famously was taken off the primetime slot because of some controversies over his reporting and has been sort of exiled, but still part of the NBC family. So it'd be interesting if they can negotiate this to happen with Amazon.
It is so interesting how you kind of need a blank slate of a name in order to even have a shred of credibility when you claim to be nonpartisan. Because, the first to pivot it was, Fox News claimed to be nonpartisan, but then clearly was right-leaning. Therefore, MSNBC had to go the other way. They're clearly left-leaning, while all of them claiming to be, nonpartisan. And CNN wanted to actually have that nonpartisan lane, but has a reputation for being more right-leaning or left-leaning. And so now it makes sense, to be honest, just picking names from a hat, Netflix, because I don't currently have anything written in my brain about one side of politics or the other, I would trust that coverage more, I bet.
Yeah. And Williams left NBC News in 2021 at the end of the year when his contract was up. So he's free to pursue this. He hasn't been doing much, but like Kathy Bates, I'm sure he still appeals to a certain demographic.
Yeah.
Streaming platform Free Live Sports has launched with a selection of 100 plus live free ad-supported sports channels, as well as rights to thousands of movies, docs, series, and highlights all about sports. Platform is currently available in more than 75 countries, with new apps launching on Roku and Fire TV, Android Vizio, iOS, tvOS, and more platforms to come soon.
I don't know. I don't speak sports enough to really
I think what's interesting about this is it's the first big push of hey, if you like free TV that you don't have to pay for other things, how about sports? Let's bring you the sports. It's interesting because I never know, and this is where my ignorance shows too, how many people just want sports, quote unquote, generically versus their teams. I feel like most of the people I know watch their teams, and maybe there's a sport that they just enjoy having on, like basketball or NFL or Major League Baseball or something. I don't know how many people just want sports in that they're like, I don't care what it is. It's a random number machine anyway. Give it to me. And if it's MMA, fishing, poker, billiards, cricket, whatever it is, it'll be great.
I think as a proxy for that, you can look to Atmosphere TV, the folks formerly, they called the whole company Chive. Now that's just a channel, the Chive. But they have one of their Atmosphere channels is nothing but I think it's called not World Series of Poker, but it's got WS and a P in a different order or something. So you, out of the corner of your eye, at a bar, you might think that's what it is. But basically, it's if you speak poker, but you don't really care who's playing, you just want to know good hand, bad hand, why do they fold, that kind of stuff. Same thing with golf. I probably can't name 5 golf players, full stop. But I do get that same mirror neurons firing that gives me a dopamine hit when I see a ball go a long way and land in the hole.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's free. So as long as they can get a critical mass of people watching it, barrier to entry is low and the advertising rates are high. So I don't know, free live sports. Also, as the host of Daily Tech News Show, I respect someone who names their free live sports service Free Live Sports.
Yes. I mean, I can't even, I want to make jokes about how much I enjoy my favorite breakfast brand breakfast, but I mean, clearly there are people who like that. There are people who live in Repo Man.
All right, let's move on to the buried treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
What have you been watching, Brian Brushwood? Please tell
Robot.
me. What's that?
I went and saw The Wild Robot in the movie theater.
What is The Wild Robot?
You haven't even heard about this. Oh, fantastic.
Pretend I haven't.
It's an animated feature based on from DreamWorks, based on a book of the same name. that it has 98% Rotten Tomatoes from the critics and 98% from the audience. And I went in just kind of weirdly steeled to prejudge it and not like it. Part of it is because we showed up early. And pro tip from Brian, if you're seeing any movie that is for kids, that movie is probably good and you're probably a discerning adult who decided to go see it. However, be forewarned that for some reason, even good kids movies can be made to look awful in the trailers. Like I know Disney's not going to screw up Moana 2, but somehow they managed to pick like 3 comedy beats that just fall flat on their face in the trailer for it before the movie. Anyway, after 20 minutes of that, I was primed to pre-dislike the Wild Robot because I'm like, I bet it's just like the Iron Giant, a rip-off of it or whatever. Smash cut to the whole family's crying and hugging and having a great time. It breaks a lot of the rules for me. Like it does a lot of scene changes just because, like they're not really justified at all. But I was too busy, just dazzled by the animation, the art, and the expressiveness that they were able to put into it. And it's got Pedro Pascal as a fox. Can't go wrong with that. Yeah. And it's got Matt Berry as a beaver, who's awesome.
Yeah. 8.5 on IMDb, 85% on Metacritic. Like those are high scores for those platforms. So that's cool. I want to bring back something that I've mentioned on Buried Treasure and whatever we called it before, Bob's Burgers.
Tom, we've been doing this show for 15 years. I ain't never heard you say those words before.
Oh, no. You absolutely have. You just don't remember because I know I've mentioned Bob's Burgers in what we're watching.
You mentioned it a lot is the joke.
Yeah, oh, I see. Yeah, guess what? I'm going to mention it again, Brian. Season 15. Bob's Burgers still rocks. That's it. That's the story. That's the tweet. That's all I have to say. If you like Bob's Burgers, it's still a delicious burger. And I can't believe that I still like it. And I like it exactly as much as I have always liked it.
I don't know which I would wish for, whether or not there's new stuff or whether or not it's still mainly the puns on the burgers names and all of those classic bits.
If The Simpsons didn't exist, I would be like talking up like 15 seasons. That's amazing. That is kind of more common now, especially for animated weekend series on Fox, apparently. But yeah, it's consistency, right? It's like getting up there and making a base hit every time you needed to. It's non-sports metaphors about doing things consistently well.
Which ironically is a lesson that Bob never learns. He's always mixing it up, trying burgers that may or may not work.
He's got a different special of the day all the time. Yeah. But I don't know what it is. And it just occurred to me when I was like, what have I been watching this week? I always discount it because I watch it when it's on. I always watch it. But I'm like, you know what? I need to check in and make sure Brian knows that I haven't stopped watching Bob's Burgers.
Yeah. If it were many other shows, I would be upset, but I am not. I am glad to hear that it is continuing to be excellent.
Hey, if you got something we should look out for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com. Brian, you don't have to change your buy text on your store.
That's correct. Although I may consider it. I may make one product and just put this obnoxiously long set of warnings and disclaimers on it.
Don't put actual DRM on it, but just put a terms of service that says I can just come into your house and demand you stop using this digital file at any time.
This is a loan with benefits to me.
Yeah.
Scamstuff.com. It's gear for the modern rogue. We got lots of gizmos, lots of fun stuff, magic tricks, puzzle boxes. I may have news about puzzle boxes very soon.
Ooh, very exciting.
If you want to hear about it, please sign up for a free giveaway at gimme.scamstuff.com. It'll put you on the email list. You can unsubscribe if you don't want to be on the email list, but you're going to want to be on the email list.
Indeed. But Brian, your emails are one of the few that I still read.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I try to actually subvert, like I do things that are flatly bad ideas, like intentional misspellings or very off-topic things or off-topic photos where the caption is just a rambly thing about why it's not what it should be or something.
Yeah,
I'm glad you dig it.
I know you guys should subscribe just to read Brian's emails, and as well as the other things like puzzle box announcements and all of that. So where do they go to do that again?
Gimme, gimme.scamstuff.com.
Let's scan the horizon.
Send a scanning to aboard.
Scanning the horizon!
DirecTV has reached an agreement to acquire EchoStar's TV business. That includes Dish TV and, interestingly, Sling TV. DirecTV, how much? You already looked at the story.
I was about to say.
If you were going to guess, would you have guessed they paid more than $1?
Oh, man, I tell you what, Bob, I'm going to say $75,433,000.
They paid $1.
Oh, I was over.
You went over. Yeah, DirecTV's paying $1, but they're taking all of Dish's $9.75 billion in debt. So they're basically paying $9.75 billion. EchoStar gets rid of all that debt. The private equity company TPG owned 30%-ish. They are going to buy out AT&T's 70% stake. DirecTV was spun out of AT&T, but AT&T still owned a big chunk. They won't anymore after this deal closes. TPG will own the entire combined company. Dish has about 8.1 million subscribers between satellite and Sling TV. DirecTV has about 11 million between satellite and its streaming product. So they'll have a combined 19.1 million. The transaction won't close until the second half of next year. So this is definitely a story that we'll come back to like a year from now to be like, what's going to happen? But know that that's coming down the line, that DirecTV and Dish are going to merge. And it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with DirecTV Now and Sling TV, the two online streaming platforms from both of them.
Yeah, I got so many questions, but it's so too early to speculate, and they're all going to be answered over time anyway.
Yeah. I subscribe to DirecTV streaming, which I call it DirecTV Now, but I think it's just DirecTV streaming now. They less and less differentiate between the satellite version and the streaming version. It is the most comprehensive and also therefore expensive of the streaming services. But if you're like, I want everything, they have everything. Whereas Sling TV is known to be the cheapest. They may not have everything, but if you just need to pay for something and you don't want to pay a lot, you got Sling Blue, you got Sling Orange, you choose one of those. So I would think they should keep both of them. Like one is a bargain brand and one's a premium brand, but we'll see. Google's Notebook LM can now summarize YouTube videos. The summary starts as a list of key topics, which you can click on for more details and ask questions about. It also links to the point in the transcript as a citation. It can even read that summary as a conversation between two people. Definitely, I gave it last week's episode of the Cordkillers, and it talked about it.
I had the benefit of not having paid attention and didn't know what Notebook LM was. So something Notebook LM, I spent, I kid you not, like 2 full minutes thinking I was listening to a very awkward podcast. And then it slowly dawned on me what was happening. It was
and you
unreal.
Were right.
Well, I mean, and by the way, it will not be awkward when you hear it in the aftertalk segment at the end of this.
We will definitely include Notebook LM's, like, I don't remember exactly how long it was, but 12 minutes or so conversation between two virtual hosts about last week's episode of Cordkillers, should you want to experience that. Warner Brothers Discovery is using Google's Vertex development platform to generate a tool for automatically creating captions for video on Mac's streaming. It'll be used first on unscripted programming where dialogue is not available from a script. That usually takes longer to caption because if you got a script, it just, you already got most of the words there. And the company says that it cuts the time it takes to generate captions for reality shows by about 80%.
That totally tracks, man. My experience, that is just getting better and better and better.
Yep. So I think that's going to help bring more captions faster to people too. Roku launched the 2024 Roku Ultra, 30% faster performance thanks to a quad-core processor, Dolby Atmos audio, Dolby Vision for 4K, HDR10 Plus if you're into that kind of stuff. You can connect by Wi-Fi 6 or Ethernet. There's also the new Voice Remote Pro, the second edition of that one, charges by USB-C, has backlit buttons, a new quick launch button that gives you a screen of your most used apps and voice commands, and of course, Roku OS 14, which isn't just coming to Roku Ultra, but also to other Roku devices as well. The Roku Ultra with 30% faster performance is available now for $100, which is exactly the same price as the new Google TV streamer.
Dude, I want it to be more commonplace for everyone to update their streaming boxes regularly. It's that 7-year refresh cycle on televisions is just an abomination. That's annoying me.
Yeah, and these boxes are fast becoming commodities where it's like it's not worth. This would have been our top story back in the day. Like, well, Roku redid the box. Here are all the cool new features. These days, it's like, updated specs, Wi-Fi 6, a little faster processor. Like if you buy, it's like buying a fridge. If you buy it now, you'll get slightly better specs.
Yep.
If you have a standalone subscription to Disney Plus and you're billed by Disney directly, not through like a cable service, you can add an out-of-household member to your account for $6.99 a month. That is Disney's new way of dealing with account sharing. That member gets one profile, can stream and download to one device at a time. They could switch devices, but they just can't be streaming on the same device at the same time. You can't have an active or canceled Disney Plus or ESPN Plus account to become an out-of-household member. If you paid for Disney Plus in the past, canceled it, and then were sharing an account, they can't add you for $6.99 a month. I'm not sure why they did that. Hulu, you can have had in the past. That's fine. You just can't have an active Hulu subscription. The active one makes more sense to me. Because if you already have an account, why add someone else? If you get mistakenly identified as out of house while traveling, you can mark yourself as away from home. So that's pretty similar to what Netflix does too. I'm very, very intrigued by them saying, if you canceled a subscription in the past, forget it. We won't take your money.
That reeks to me, and feel free to push back if this doesn't land for you, but that smells to me like pleasing the board members, something shareholders are going to want.
Maybe.
Like that seems like a gimme concession. It also reduces the
income, which usually doesn't please board members. So, like, why would that please board members?
Whatever it is, it seems like a bone that was thrown to somebody who didn't like it. Now, meanwhile, this does seem like a very, very solid way to get the camel's nose under the tent. You ever heard that metaphor?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
I've only heard it once, and I was confused because my professor was acting like, is it the camel's back or the camel's nose? And I was like, what's the camel's nose? And it's like, is it the straw that broke the camel's back or the nose under the tent? And I that one time I've heard it, I've never heard it in the wild since. This seems like a camel's nose under the tent that they can later use to increase the rates on.
Yeah. And then finally, in our continuing coverage of ads showing up on devices you paid for, LG has begun showing ads before its TV screensaver kicks in. Some are promotions for LG's own services, like LG Channels, but there are also ads from third parties. Usually what happens is the longer it goes and the more ads they sell, the less you see those internal promos. The ads can be disabled in settings, but they are on by default if you do the operating system update. LG's ad arm says you can place ads on the home screen, LG Channels, and the content store as well if you're an advertiser.
That's also a camel's nose under the tent, because they could keep on graffitiing their own product, and then suddenly it becomes like, man, what is it? $10? I'll pay your ransom. Go, just make this a TV.
Right now you can turn it off in settings, but in the future you'll have to pay extra.
Well, and again,
that's kind of what Amazon does with the Kindles, right? You can buy a Kindle, or you can buy a Kindle for a little less if you agree to let ads be on the cover, and then later you can pay a little to get rid of those ads if you want.
Well, and think about like user interface updates where they're able to, it was only 2 clicks in order to get to cancel it. Now it's 3 clicks. I mean, it's just one more subdirectory, and then 4 clicks and 5 clicks, and then maybe it does a 3-second timeout or something.
Yeah, I think people often say they're going to start charging for firmware updates. That rarely happens. But I could see them, doing a service charge to get rid of ads or something like that. Yeah, it's not impossible. I don't think these ads are going to be terribly effective.
No, they won't. But they may be effective. To be honest, they won't be effective for anybody who advertises, and they won't be effective as much of an ad revenue generator for the companies. However, make them annoying enough, and they could see a significant number of consumers saying, "Take your hush money, get out, get it out of here."
Yeah, maybe. All right, let's move on to the chatter.
Got mail.
From Austin, or as Brian would say, Nick from here wrote, the most recent full episode, first ultimate lowest last of The Wire, got me really wanting to rewatch The Wire, but this time to include the missus because she's never seen it. How often do you have shows you want to watch together, but the backlog is such that you think you'll never get to it? We usually just have time for maybe an hour a day at most, and we both try to stay on top of sharing the best shows. So success story for the full experience, bringing Nick and his wife to a rewatch in his case and a first watch of The Wire. P.S. And you don't have to share, but I don't care if you do. Look forward to still meeting Tom in person after meeting Brian Jury and Heaton at one of his book signings at Cosmic. One of these years, I'll make Founders Day. Thanks for all you do.
Yeah, in terms of it being a shared experience, yes, dude, the pain is real. Trying to watch anything with a significant other or a family member, like I still have not finished Detroiters. I love Detroiters very much. However, it would be a travesty to my relationship with my adult daughter. I have to wait for her to come home from college to watch them.
Scott from Houston writes, hey guys, just wanted to chime in on the movie theaters adding additional entertainment activities. This is pretty common at family entertainment centers. I worked at Putt Putt in the late 80s. My location, like most, started out just as a miniature golf course with a snack bar. At some point, the owner added an arcade, then batting cages, go-karts, etc. In the end, the mini golf was a very small percentage of the location's income. There are a lot of family entertainment centers that combine bowling, arcades, laser tag, and many other activities. And then Sean wrote in with a similar sentiment saying, theaters becoming the place to do pickleball or video arcades or laser tag or whatever can be pushed into their buildings has a historical parentage of today's amusement parks, specifically the longest continuously operated amusement park, Lake Compounce in Bristol, Connecticut. The park's history goes back to 1846 when Gad Norton hired a scientist to perform an experiment using explosives, which failed. The experiment brought large crowds, which inspired Norton to open an amusement park. His park had public swimming and rowing on the lake, a gazebo for lakeside band concerts, and several rides. The park saw success as a picnic park through the post-American Civil War. And then he goes on to talk about a casino and a roller coaster opening in 1914. And of course, today it still has roller coasters in the picnic area and a concert venue, etc.
Yeah, this is sort of like, again, from the economist perspective, you back out far enough and it's like thing where people go gather to be happy place.
Yeah. No, I think you can, the other way to look at this is movie theaters are becoming a thing that can be an attraction at a center of attractions versus being its own thing.
Yeah.
Adam in San Diego, just getting to episode 507. Ooh, that was back in like June.
We were talking about the local cable providers doing over-the-top streaming services.
Yeah. The only two requirements I'd have to sign up would be, one, no carriage disputes ever. Well, that can't happen. They can't agree to that because they don't control that. Two, they'd need to offer the same ad-free options of the streaming or services that I can get directly from them now. Ad-free tiers are one of the simple pleasures I've allowed myself in life, and I'm not going back to spending a chunk of my evenings watching commercials. That they probably could do. They could probably say, yes, we will allow you to pay extra for the ad-free option of whatever service it is, Peacock, et cetera.
Yeah. And of course, if it's not available, you can contact your state senator in California.
And say, it said buy. From Dan. Hi there, Cordkillers crew. Greetings from Mexico. Wanted to share some local news. I know that the Cordkillers mantra is to watch the stuff you love when you want, where you want, however you want. And this is not limited to streaming services. Last Sunday, September 29th, the main cinema chain here, Cinépolis and Cinemex, offered special screenings of the season finale of La Casa de los Famosos, a very popular reality show that you can watch for free with a regular TV antenna or with a streaming subscription to ViX. The experiment was a success, and checking the first reports for the box office, a TV show that you could watch for free at home was able to grab about 1.97 million pesos, which is about $1 million US, gathering 30,000 viewers.
Yeah, we saw similar things like, as we got close to the finale of Breaking Bad, there was a bunch of watch parties in movie theaters. I am in favor, and this, again, the experience of being a live touring performer changes one, and you understand how much those crowd dynamics really matter in terms of the electricity of watching something.
The series finale or series premiere of an anticipated series I've seen do well in theaters, but this is pretty great. And then Big Jim writes, first of all, Weird Al is worth every penny. I've seen him 5 times live, and every single time is worth it. He has to be the nicest musician I've ever met. Second, shows to see before you die. These are pretty affordable, in my opinion. This was an after-talk conversation, by the way. He says, OMG, go see Ringo Starr and his all-star band. It was amazing and fun and just awesome. I'm old school, but if you've never seen Tower of Power in concert, you should. They're the tightest funk band I've ever heard, and I love them so much. Earth, Wind, and Fire with Chicago. Just amazing sound and puts you in a good mood. My splurge, Michael Bublé, just a fun show. I haven't seen him live yet, but a man I want to. And at 5, my only other splurge, Harry Connick Jr. I mean, I know I'm coming off as an old man here, but damn, that cat can swing. These are just my choices. Big Jim.
You know what's funny is you didn't come off as an old man until you said, damn, that cat can swing.
That's true. That's true. And finally, Kimberly wanted to correct us on Atlantic hurricane season. It runs from June 1st to November 30th, with the most destructive storms historically occurring between August and October.
Also, Big Jim, that was said with love and affection.
Absolutely. That's it for us. We give love and affection to all of you, too. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We are live on twitch.tv/Night Attack Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.